Hey everybody, it's Bob Crossan, Senior Managing Editor for Water and Waste Digest, and we have another Top Projects interview for you this week. Today I have with me Shawn Tooman. He is Project Manager for Mosier Construction. I also have Jim Donnell. He is Senior Professional Engineer for the City of Toledo. Andy McClure is also the Water Plant Administrator for the City of Toledo. And Kurt Smith. He is a Project Manager with Arcadis. And we're going to be talking about the Collins Park Water Treatment Plant Basin 7 and 8 improvements. So yeah, thank you guys. We really appreciate you all being on the call today. And congratulations on a top project. Like that's really, really excellent. So thank you all for being here. So I wanted to start. We'll start by with you, Jim. I wanted to talk a little bit about the size and scale of this project. Could you talk about that size and scale and what this really meant in terms of the grand scheme of things?
Well, the Collins Park Water Treatment Plant has a capacity, or had a capacity of 120 million gallons per day. And this project, Basin 7 and Basin 8, added 40 million gallons per day capacity. So uh, actually, the rated capacity will be 140 million gallons per day with 20 million gallons per day redundant capacity. So it's about a third more capacity than what we had before the project.
Yeah, I mean that is a lot of flow. It's a tremendous amount of flow. But I wanted to also get an understanding too. What was the project method, delivery method you guys used for this particular part of the project?
This was a design bid build delivery method. We did not pursue any other, design build type of method. At the time we initiated design, it was not a delivery method that was commonly used, at least for the city of Toledo.
Hmm.
So we stuck with the traditional design bid build.
Yeah. And this is one of multiple projects that were kind of running all concurrently to bring the city back up to speed with some things. I wanted to ask you, Andy, could you talk a little bit about what that was like for the city, how you guys were managing all these concurrent projects together?
Yeah, certainly. We have multiple projects, and these are all big dollar projects. We have our Basin 7 and 8 projects. We had ozone. We had refurbishment of other basins going on. And for one, it was a little bit bigger than just typical city staff could handle. So we did hire professional construction management, or we had a professional construction manager's contract. And that contract was with Ecom, and they're all subcontractors. So they help us to manage all the documents, manage the pay applications. They help out in shop drawing review and construction inspection. And then also the consulting engineer, they have their role to play too during construction, helping keep up with change order requests and information requests. Arcadis did a really good job on that. So we did have to do some subcontracting to do it because with the number of projects, it's more than just the typical engineering staff that the water plant can handle.
Yeah. Well, could you also talk a little bit about the community that you guys serve? What's the size of that community? What types of people are there? What is the size of your network even? Like geographically, what are you guys covering?
Well, the city of Toledo is about half of the actual population that we serve, called about 250,000 people. But when you add in our wholesale customers, we serve 500,000 people in 2 states and we're up to 4 counties, I think. We've got Monroe County in Michigan, Fulton, Lucas, and Wood in Ohio. And we actually have just gone through a formed regional water committee and a uniform contracts amongst all the water users. So yeah, it's a pretty large community, and these improvements. The plant was built in 1940, built to be expanded. There was an expansion in 1950 to go from 4 basins to 6 basins, and about every 10 years, it was looked at again. And finally, the time was right with based on projected populations and water use to go ahead and construct Basin 7 and 8.
Hmm. Awesome. Jim, kicking back to you, what was kind of the catalyst that started this whole project in general? What really began this whole process for the city and for you getting you guys involved?
Well, back in 2011, needs assessment and capital improvements master plan was prepared, and it identified basically all of the capital improvement needs of the plant, which there were considerable. And at that time, we shared this with this document with the Ohio EPA, and we negotiated a timeline for completion of the work. A lot of the work that's included in the capital improvements plan involves taking major treatment basins, 20 MGD at a time, out of service. And in order to accommodate those projects that require taking major portions of the plant out of service, we needed to have the additional capacity in place to basically replace that capacity during the time that those improvements would be made. So the Basin 7 and Basin 8 projects were identified as a critical need up close to the upfront on the capital improvements plan to provide that capacity to perform the needed improvements to the rest of the plant.
Mhm. One of the challenges that was in this nomination form for this was the drawings from like the 1950s that weren't totally accurate. Kurt, could you talk a little bit about what challenges that presented to the project and what things were inaccurate between those drawings and what you guys actually found on the actual site?
Yeah, the record drawings were from 1954, and over the years, there have been different elevation datums that have been created. There's USGS, and then there was a special city datum. And, the question is, well, what datum is it? And then now there's NAVD 88 datum. So what we did, or what the city did, they hired the PCM team, and they did a 3D scanning, laser scanning, and that was all tied into NAVD 88 elevation datum, so that when we were able to connect the new Basin 7 and 8 to the existing Basins 5 and 6, it was seamless. We were right down to a hundredth of an inch, which the contractor, Shawn, I'm sure greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
I agree, Kurt.
Yeah. Had you used technology like that before for other projects, or was this something new that you guys kind of learned how to use on the fly?
This was new to us. I mean, we're doing it all the time now, but yeah, it was relatively new to us at that time. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things too here was the soil preloading was required for that, but the time frame uh, altered the time frame that required to try and complete all this work kind of altered the solutions that you guys were looking at for that. What did you guys end up coming up with, Shawn, and how did that change the project, if at all?
Hey, thanks. Yeah, when we started this job, or when we were bidding this job, it initially called for us to do some preloading down on the south end of the basin. And what they were shooting for was the us to mount up a big mound of soil and let it sit there for 6 to 8 months until it compacted the earth below it enough to support the foundation of the buildings and the tanks and everything. It was pretty tight initially, and waiting that 6 months or so was just going to make it harder to construct it. So we came up with a plan and approach the city and Arcadis, and that was to add 16-inch auger cast piles throughout that south end. And we ended up putting in about 400 of these auger cast piles, and to a depth of about 50 feet or so. We got down close to hard pan, and we were able to shave some time off the schedule, and in my opinion, give the city a foundation that's going to be ultimately better for them moving forward for the length that they want to utilize this facility for. Andy, did you have something you wanted to add with that?
No, I agreed. It was a time saver, and it was a good change to the project.
Yeah. Having a solid foundation, obviously very important in a project of any size.
Right.
Yeah, one of the other things that was mentioned in this nomination form was security of not only the construction site but of the basins when they were completed as well. Wanted to throw that to Andy. What were some of the concerns that you guys had, and how was security dealt with at the construction site and at those basins now?
Yeah, we knew as all these projects got going that there were going to be more contractors on the site than employees for big durations of time during the project. And then we were also thinking about for health and safety concerns and for security concerns. It's really up to the contractor on a construction site. So we did lay out in the plans that there's a separate fence. And we did have Mosier in charge of security, which I'll toss to Shawn in just a second here. And we also, prior to beginning construction, there was a vacant property across the street from the water plant. And we leased that space for contractor use, for staging, for office space. Just to have it so the contractor, we needed the space. We're pretty tight. So, but yeah, we knew security was going to be an issue, and we thought, the contractors really will know how they want to handle security. So just give them a fence and let them work from there. So, Shawn?
Yeah, I think the city of Toledo and the PCM team did an excellent job of including that in our scope of work. We purchased a MAC 2 unit, which is a security unit with a security guard station in the center of it that was always there during working hours. Then we had a turnstile system for our employees that they had to badge in through in order to get on the construction site. And then we had cameras mounted at the gates there so that if trucks were coming in or not, or coming in or out, the security guard was able to monitor that. And that worked out, in my opinion, really, really well. And then as our guys got closer towards the into the job further, we had to get into the city's facility, and the city, they had a badging process where they took our employees' pictures, and you had to wear those badges when you're in the city so you could easily be identified as to who you work for and what and that you've been cleared to be in that space. So I think the security worked out well on the job. I mean, we definitely worked closely with the city in that aspect to make sure that we weren't doing something that was gonna infringe on their security needs.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, before we end the call, I want to make sure that we get some shout outs from you guys, because obviously projects like this, there's so many people who are involved in this, and not everyone can be on this call to talk about what they did for the project. So just starting with you, Shawn, do you have any shout outs for anyone who worked on the project that isn't on the call today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first, we couldn't have done it without the city of Toledo. We appreciate Jim and Andy working with us and spoon feeding us at times the details of how they wanted Arcadis's design to be. So I have to thank them, and obviously Kurt, your team. I feel like they did a really good job of helping us and aiding us throughout the construction, and the PCM team as well. So I'd like to thank you guys, all of our subcontractors, and all the employees from Mosier Construction who participated in the project. So thank you very much, all members. Thank you.
Jim, how about you? Anyone on your team that you want to give a special shout out to?
Well, certainly the Mosier Construction, Shawn and his group did a great job on the project, and it's been in operation since April of last year. And Arcadis, the design consulting, they've been with us since day one on this project. The project, our professional construction management team, which we don't have a person here today for that, but they did a great job in helping us with the administrative work on the construction phase and the resident project representation of the project. But I guess most of all, I'd like to thank our staff, our operation and maintenance staff, because we put them through all kinds of gyrations to accommodate some of the work that required their input and their I guess patience as we take different basins out of service and give them short notice of changes in operation and different walking paths to do their responsibilities. And they did a great job and without any complaining. So it's I guess I would thank our operation maintenance staff and certainly our administrative staff, Andy, and our operations administrator and maintenance administrator. So
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, Andy, I was going to throw it to you too. I imagine you have similar sentiment to him about your staff and whatnot really being rock stars for this type of project. But is there anyone you want to particularly shout out?
Yeah, no, I echo every one of Jim's sentiments. Everyone's been really great to work with on this, and I feel like we should mention Ohio EPA in negotiating the time frame and the sequence for all these capital improvement projects, and that relationship has really developed, and it's a good relationship now. And not that it was bad ever, but it's just there's been some growing and evolution. In the city, we did have a local engineer, a retired gentleman named Warren Henry, who came back to work for the city for a little bit, and he really helped us in managing the capital improvement program and the bond funding and the loan funding and the cash flow. And Director of Public Utilities Ed Moore and our Commissioner Patika Bannister have also been a lot of help just to keep things. They help us with downtown, this city council or administrative issues or for pay request process. But yeah, so there's been a lot of people involved in this. Mosier and Arcadis are right in there with everybody. So there's a lot of people involved, and there's a lot of shout outs as well.
Oh yeah. All these projects have like thousands of man hours when you add it up across all the different teams that are working on them. But yeah, last with you, Kurt. Who'd you like to shout out for the work on this?
Well, it's really a culmination of efforts of everybody. I guess starting out with the city, like Jim said, the operations staff did a great job. If there's any hiccups, we didn't see any or hear of any, so no news is good news on that end. With Mosier Construction, they performed great. They came up with the suggestion of the piles to save time so they could get started at the filter end of the project first, the most difficult. And also, we had some issues with our Laguna slope embankment, and they took that in hand and with stride and performed very well and still met the schedule, even though there was some challenges with the Laguna work. There's a PCM who managed the construction side of things on the project, and EPA, they were very involved. It was great to work closely with them. They actually had some good input there, so we appreciate working closely with regulatory agencies also. And that pretty much sums it up. I would say everybody else hit it on all the other points there. So
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I really do appreciate the amount of time that you guys have spent with me today and getting a little more detail on this project. And congratulations once again on winning a top project for this year. For everyone who's watching, we are doing video interviews with every top project winner through the end of this year. So started on October 28th all the way to the end of the year. Every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on our Facebook and YouTube pages. You can find the new premiere. It goes live on our website right after that. And we send it out in an email. So sign up for our video alert as well. And once more, to you guys, thank you all for taking part today.